Again, uh, since morning we are deliberating about insurance, disaster, what is the thing which are happening and what are the work we are doing in various things. And when we are deliberating so much on this, it's very important to come out with a joint action plan which can be taken forward. Since morning Bindal sir was telling that we are planning to submit it to PMO to take it forward at the highest level. So to deliberate on this action plan for designing, there need to be looked at various aspects, and for that purpose we are having next session where we are planning about designing this action plan for future. So to chair that session, I would like to invite Venugopal Sharma sir again on dais. Welcome back, sir. To join him as a co-chair, I will like to invite Mr. Deepak Singh, who is lead for disaster management from World Bank, based out of Delhi. So I will request Professor Santosh Kumar to give a green welcome to Mr. Deepak Singh. Because of some official engagement, Devesh Srivastav sir has to leave. Instead of him, Mrs. Madhulika Bhaskar, who is the Chief Risk Officer, and she always do the risk management for GICRE, and today she is doing the risk management for us as well. So welcome, ma'am, and we will like to welcome you on stage. Yes. Madhulika Bhaskar. To join the panel, we have, I'm really happy about this panel. It has majority of fairer sex. So to join this panel, we have S.N. Rajeshwari ma'am, who is General Manager in New India Insurance, which is one of the biggest general insurance company in India at this moment. We also have representation, another representation from reinsurance side in form of Mr. Ankur Gupta, who is head of business for Munich Re. Ankur has also worked in disaster management area in past as well. To join the panel, we have Mrs. Usha Girish, who is a DGM United India Insurance Company. And I believe that no deliberation can be complete without the presentation from academia, and that's why my colleague Professor George E. Thomas will be joining this panel. Thank you, everyone. And now I will like to hand over the mic to Sharma sir to take it forward.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think we have come to a stage where we have to crystallize whatever have been discussed so far and come to some kind of a workable action plan. So the workable action plan, I think, should not be in terms of generalities, but rather we should at some stage bring down to brass tacks of what kind of policy, what kind of package, what kind of prices, and some kind of indicative price of different products. If we can talk in such terms, then it will be possible for the representatives of the state governments to relate to the various options that may be available. So with these opening words, I think I will invite the panelists to give their presentations. To begin with, I will request Shri Deepak Singh to give his presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Sharma. Thank you to all the organizers, the Insurance Institute of India and the NIDM. It's good to be here, and particularly in this concluding session where the task is kind of cut out, that we have had deliberations, and if I may recall, we have had a series of deliberations even before this round of deliberation, and therefore it's very pertinent to be very clear now as to where and in what direction we would like to move. I'll give a very brief kind of intervention from my side, and that's largely based on our interaction that we have had in last at least 2 years with various forums and with various agencies, including the government, including the Finance Commission. We have had a serious discussion with the Finance Commission last year. I think the discussion has now gone beyond where everybody understands the kind of need for certain instruments and mechanism of risk transfer, because it is very clear that these, particularly the state governments, are not able to absorb the kind of fiscal shocks that they have to bear as and when any disaster is striking. And we understand that not only natural hazards, but the climate change is kind of enhancing the impacts of those hazards, increasing the frequency, increasing the intensity. However, I also think that we shouldn't really take the insurance as the thing. And when we talk about the fiscal situation of a state, the insurance comes as a kind of one instrument in the whole risk transfer mechanism. And I think today we kind of more focused on insurance, but there are other aspects of insurance. Simultaneously, the risk transfer mechanism also needs to be used as a kind of tool to incentivize risk reduction. And if we look at the cycle, so there is an amount of risk. There are proactive risk reduction measures by way of which you're trying to reduce your risk. Still there is a residual risk, and a part of that risk we are ready to, or we should be transferring into the market, and the part of the risk has to be absorbed by government and the other institutions on their own. So therefore, I think the first and foremost we need to come and understand that what are the various products available, what are the various risk transfer mechanisms available, and that for which state or for a group of states how this can be structured. This would require some kind of understanding on what is the risk profile, what are the vulnerabilities, what kind of events have happened in the past, and on those events what were the responses and what were the requirements. So therefore we need some kind of basic database on this. There is large amount of database available, but I think it's need to bring all this onto one platform. So we'll have to start by building these blocks in order to reach to the solution. We do know that NDMA is proceeding on one of these kind of efforts, and they'll be taking some case studies of 4 states and trying to build up this database, which will then help come to a CAT modeling exercise, and then we can understand what are the expected damages that may occur with the various kind of events that we can analyze, and those scenario building, that kind of requirement, which will then help the insurance industry to structure the products and also structure the premiums. Because right now, in absence of any kind of such systemic database and information, is more based on experiences from other areas, and insurance companies also probably are not very clear whether they are charging more, whether they are charging less. It's kind of case to case basis and depends on the scenario. Sometimes you make profit, sometimes you don't make profit. But if this is going to be a long term engagement, we'll need to create this database and this kind of models. Unfortunately, we don't have these kind of models for India and major Indian cities and major Indian states, and therefore that is one effort, very concrete, required to come to any kind of product structuring. Second, I say that we hear a lot of discussion in various forums that the SDRF, NDRF norms do not permit the state governments to spend on insurance premia or investment in these kind of activities. While that remains true, and there should be a need, there is a need to kind of address that. Simultaneously, it's also true that it's Orissa that faces the pinch. It is Bihar that faces the pinch, and therefore, apart from thousands and thousands of crores of rupees investment that every state makes every year, is it not possible to take out a small sum and systematically invest in these kind of products once they can be developed, and in that kind of capacity building? So that's my kind of request and appeal to the state that this is your ball game. You get to pay for the disaster, and therefore you must build your own capacity. And if we look at the example from Orissa, Orissa has developed huge capacity in terms of response mechanism, but where it actually lacks, which was also kind of accepted, that we are still not able to address the losses to livelihoods and the infrastructure and the assets, and that's where we need to focus, because in terms of response capacity, with the assistance of NDMA and a lot of state departments and state disaster management authorities, majority of the states have now created very good capacities in terms of the response. And with the help of science and technology, as somebody was also mentioning, we have good predictive capacities as far as the hydrometeorological disasters are concerned. Of course, for things like geological disasters like earthquakes and maybe the induced disasters like tsunami, we still don't have that much robust early warning system, but for other things we do have, and we are making good use of that. So that field has been developing, and it will develop further. So need is to basically address how do we now minimize the losses in the productive sectors and in the infrastructure sector. So that is the priority item as far as I think is concerned, to be tackled by this whole discussion on the risk transfer mechanism. So maybe I'll stop here, and maybe we'll have a second round.
May I now request Ms. Madhulika Bhaskar to give her intervention.
Good afternoon to all. Exceptions prove the rule. I'm happy to see one Munich Re member over here. Otherwise, it would have been a panel of only government and PSUs. The way our thinking goes, it is normally all such responsibilities, always first port of call is the PSU companies. But happy to see Munich Re on the panel as well. Just giving you some bullet points on the role of reinsurers in such kind of an event is basically we try to, we back the insurance companies in whatever they do. And our job is basically bringing about geographical diversification. Such CAT events, if you go to see because of climate change, they become more frequent and more severe. And insurance is more for the unforeseen. Nothing unforeseen now about these CAT events the way India is moving about. And reinsurers are always behind you, are with you. Our major job is also bringing in new products and some kind of knowledge sharing from the international market to our country. One such thing that we had explored was bringing CAT bonds. We did initiate a study on whether it's feasible for the country, and as it would have been obvious to quite a few, CAT bonds is not a solution for India, primarily because in a country where the savings interest rate is so high, if I were to give you a CAT bonds, I have to give you your principal, okay, plus some interest in case there is no CAT. There is a CAT, your principal is confiscated, it goes towards the payment of claim. Where we have got tax-free bonds given by the government with principal secured at a high rate of 6+%, CAT bonds would not work here. Secondly, the regulator would not allow us to enter into such bond market, then I need to use a fronting agency where using their paper costs us money. So if you take the economies of bringing about cat bonds in a country like India, economically it was not working out. The main primary reason is India is not perceived as a cat country because of the large size of the country, and like as he said, only Orissa, we are certain states face the wrath of the rains, there are others which face the earthquake. So overall, if you take the entire premium from the country, it gets sort of offset against the claim of a few states. So for a country like India, where we are not perceived by the international market as a cat country, like when they were working at a minimum 2 ROL, ROL is a return on, it's a premium rate, it's one of the measures for insurance. India was getting the earthquake cover at less than 2. Despite they having a benchmark minimum of 2, we were getting earthquake covers at less than 2. So that basically shows you how the international market perceives India. If you go to see by way of the claim size, we have paid the highest claim so far for the floods, Mumbai floods. But when we buy cover, we buy more on earthquake because the PML, that is the probable maximum loss for earthquake, is perceived as 100%. So though the buying is more on the earthquake, historically we have seen more claims coming from the water perils, the flood perils. So other roles that the reinsurers plays is data sharing. We were the partners for the modeling companies when they were trying to capture data from India, when they were building their models. But as we go to say it's garbage in, garbage out, the primary data capture source lies with the insurance companies. I mean, wherever you have got fields like miscellaneous, others, 999, you'll find majority of such valuable data lost in capture of these, it's by default, they'll strike out the others, miscellaneous and all. So as like garbage in, garbage out, we did share the data that we had, but most of these modeling companies had to employ a lot more people and capture data from various sources. It could be the weather bureaus, insurance, regulators, councils, multiple sources to then build up something of a reasonable quality before they could set their models on. So as reinsurers, we are basically involved in backing the market in pricing, bringing in new products, in creating a database, and being the sort of the mediator between the regulator, the public, and the needs of the market. So as and when there is a need, we are always there with you.
Thank you very much. I think we should start focusing on what is immediately possible or what can be done in the immediate horizon. So I would request Mr. Ankur Gupta to try to focus on what is immediately possible.
Thank you, Mr. Sharma, and thank you, Madhu ma'am. I'm Ankur. I'm representing Munich Re, India. So, as ma'am rightly said, and as we have heard over the various panelists today, there is a lot of activity happening on bits and pieces in various silos, various departments, various companies are trying to do their best or putting their best effort to come up with solutions which are addressing some of the concerns on the disaster management side, but it is not necessarily the solution that can be implemented across the country or to satisfy the needs of each of the states. As the previous panelist, Mr. Ramchandru mentioned, the key challenges are, of course, data, reach, and implementation. If these three points are addressed, most of our insurance schemes can be very well appreciated or reach out to the real beneficiary in India. So what we have seen in various countries and with our experience, what we realized, the more complex we try to, or more let's say dependency we have on finding the right data to the extreme, the more time it will take, more difficult it will to entertain or basically to reach out to the final beneficiary. We believe that data is definitely critical. It is something that we have to build over a period of time, but we cannot stop or we cannot wait for the data to come in first and then start working on it. So idea is how we can start developing these solutions with the limited data that we currently have. We believe we can start with some of the regions or some areas with, say, a parametric solution, or as Hitesh mentioned in the morning, we can start with a mixed solution which has a mix of parametric as well as indemnity benefit around it. We have to one thing that we have to understand very clearly is these schemes are for high severity losses or for the disaster. These schemes should not be expected to make payout every year. These should not be compared on, this is the premium which we paid this year, how much we were able to recover this year. These schemes are there to pay for a very high severity losses which can happen which are of severity of, let's say, 1 in 100 year, 1 in 250 year kind of a situation. So idea is the premiums will be reasonable only if our expectation or our motivation is to pay for disasters rather than the attritional normal losses which can be taken care through normal risk mitigation activities like Orissa has shown. The preparedness for disaster mitigation can help reduce a lot of risk or a lot of exposure. Yet a parametric scheme could have supported them in post-disaster mitigation or let's say livelihood support to the livelihood of the people post-disaster. So we believe that there could be 2-3 options or 2-3 target segments which we can immediately start with. One is, of course, the people below poverty line or people who have limited means to support their livelihood and who are impacted the most. These people would not be able to, let's say, pay the premium on their own fully. It might need certain subsidy, it might need certain help, but this segment is highly impacted. What they need is not only the cover, they also need the swiftness of the payout to reach to them on a timely basis. So we can start with a parametric cover which on a happening of an incident or on a happening of a trigger, the payout is immediately released to the government and government can further distribute to the people who are impacted. We can also look to leverage on our existing schemes, for example, Arogya Bima, or for example, your even Fasal Bima, where we have some certain identity cards. We have already mapped beneficiaries to the to a local location. If we can geotag and we can also map their let's say bank accounts, the direct payout can also reach to these beneficiaries in case of any event happening. The other segment could be immediately which requires a lot of support is government infrastructure or the infrastructure or the government own infrastructure. The idea is again, in case of disaster, what we all forget is that the infrastructure has to be created. There has to be a further investment. It push back our economy by 2 to 3 years. So to support that immediate let's say initiation on the infrastructure rehabilitation, we need again a kind of support which could be a mix let's say or a hybrid kind of a setup would be better for this thing, where you have immediate contingency funds which are provided on the happening of the event, which helps government to start with, let's say, a debris removal or clearance of roads or clearance of the flood affected area or clearing the drainage areas and all those things. And once that basic contingency or the initial thing is done, then the indemnity or then the assessment of real losses can happen and the balance funds can be released to them. So we believe these two areas could be immediate focus area, and then we can build on slowly on the experience and the data that has come in to slowly roll it out across the country. So these are our thoughts on this.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, may I request Ms. Rajeshwari to give her intervention.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Rajeshwari, General Manager and CFO from New India Assurance Company, the largest non-life insurance company. Apart from my CFO functions, I'm taking care of the reinsurance part and the crop insurance also. So, general insurance industry have completed around 1,40,000 crore business and growing at 15%, so serving for the nation. And particularly as a public sector insurance company, you can say all the four have been contributed for the national building for the past 100 years. So we have been a major player in the Swaraksha Bima Yojana, RSBY schemes, and also in the Fasal Bima. So New India Assurance was handling the Fasal Bima, particularly for Tamil Nadu from 1617 to 1819. And current year we are into the Ujjain and also in UP. And we also are participating a co-insurance share along with the AIC across the country we are doing. So And of course, we settle major claims in respect of the Kerala floods, Fani, and also the All India floods. Still, though we underwrite more than, we have individual customers, I can say more than 20 million apart from the group policy, still the penetration has to improve. So what I will be focusing on that, the insurance companies will do their job to increase the penetration. Insurance is a law of large numbers. Once the number increases, so the premium can be made affordable. Here what happens, because of the continuous cat losses, so the insurance companies could not afford, the reinsurance rate went up, then we have to again go back and build it to the customer. Then customer, many opt out of insurance also. Thanks to GIC for increasing this year they have come out with the IAB rates, so which will be helpful for the market also. So going forward, I feel one is the awareness of insurance should be created. First, what, like catch them young, my suggestion is it should be made as a subject. It's not only for current, even for the future what we should see, it should be made a part of the education to the next generation. It should be a subject. Everybody should know what is the importance of education, that I will focus. And moreover, probably this budget didn't give the 80 that benefits for chapter 6A deductions. My suggestion will be for such thing, like a person will be able to contribute for the Kerala floods, he gets a 80G donation, get a income tax relief of 30%. Probably such social welfare scheme that income tax benefit can continue, because I remember I was in the part of the group meeting the JA, along with JA Council with CBDT chairman. We were requesting for, even for home insurance, some deduction should be given in income tax benefits. So such benefits will help for more people coming into insurance. That will be one call. And then one more is on the CSR projects. All the companies and even public sector companies, we have some person, means 20 crore, 30 crore, we have to contribute every year for the CSR project. Probably if these contribution to these funds can be made a part of that, we can contribute and we can build up the fund also. And one more thing I want to say is products we have to certainly bring. I understand, as Mr. Ankur was telling, the pandemic products will be required, as well as because of that coronavirus, all the thought came, we should have some product for the epidemic and the pandemic also, some products. So that along with the reinsurers, the insurance company will be trying to bring it to the market, sir. This is my take.
Thank you. Now may I request Ms. Usha Girish to make her intervention.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon all. Last speaker of the last session is a difficult situation to be in, but let me just try. Today has been a day full of inputs, and I don't know whether I have any new points, but I represent United India Insurance Company, the second largest general insurance company, doing around 17,000 crore business, and last year, more importantly, we have paid around 15,000 crore claims. So, like Madam Rajeshwari was saying, being in the public sector, being a public sector company, we are there very closely associated with all government schemes. Issue here is also, now risk transfer, insurance comes in as a risk transfer. My slight suggestion here is the transfer part is dependent upon the price, was very obviously told, and if it becomes too much of a price, more similar, identical to the sum insured, then nobody is going to buy a policy. So in order to focus that the premium remains viable, maybe we should be looking at the preparedness to combat with the disasters, and there what I would really be suggesting, because preparedness brings in more resilience, and resilience is rated well by the insurance company. Second is, Chairperson was also suggesting that we come to rates. Rates is too early a situation. We should be looking at the coverages, we should be looking at the number of people coming in, and like we said, the data. So all these are things that we could work upon. What we have found today is there is a lot of stakeholders with a common intent wanting to take part in the nation's building, especially when it is struck with a heavy disaster. So we could all come, and what is more important is we should be having a committee who has members with perseverance, who will, challenges are there in every step. We will be able to see, even now sitting here I can see when we talk of the different things that can happen, there are going to be different opinions coming in, there are going to be different conflicts of opinion coming in, but there should be a committee who has the ultimate goal, and we should be working towards that goal. We should be sorting out the differences. Suggestion I would make is insurance companies can come out with micro insurance products. Andhra Pradesh was suggesting how we could come with micro insurance products. That is one way of looking at small insurance products where everybody will pay a small portion of it towards premium. And we could also think of the other big other country models like the Turkey model, Caribbean model. All these are models that we could work out and tailor make it to suit our country requirements. So factors will have to go a lot more. The important point is we know where to start from. We can partner in a great way in many of the features, but we have to know the data becomes again very important here. So thank you.
Now I request Professor George Thomas to give his intervention.
Thank you, sir. I would like to structure my thoughts into major 5 buckets. The first one would be at the government level, we need to have some clarity on how to start this disaster insurance. First thing, when a disaster strikes, for rebuilding we need money. The money has to come from somewhere. As of now, it is coming from the government. The government has to, cannot be afford, no government can afford to keep on paying endlessly for disasters. So that is why this system of transferring of risk to the insurance company system comes up. Then insurance company needs premium. We don't have that kind of awareness that people have a willingness to pay and the ability to pay. So there are some people who are having the ability to pay. Those who don't have the ability to pay, the government has to have some kind of a system of subsidy. Then for people who are having the ability to pay, they don't have the willingness to pay. So for that purpose, we need awareness and maybe some kind of a subsidy at the initial stage. But no government can afford to keep on paying subsidies all through. So this is something, when we start doing it, we have to have a plan that a government is going to subsidize it for 5 years, 10 years, whatever. So only till that time subsidies can work. So we have to work on a timeline. So up to 10 years, okay, I'm going to subsidize to this percentage, to this extent. It can be a progressive thing. And okay, I'm progressively reducing thing, and there it stops. So this is one part. And again, coming to the corollary of that, that is, as of now, we need to bake a big bread, a big loaf of bread, because the country is large. The country has got a lot of cushioning power within it. That is, floods don't affect every state, earthquakes don't affect every state, cyclones don't affect every state. If we look at slicing it into small parts, the disaster risk we won't be able to sustain in a particular state or in a particular slice. What we need is a huge loaf, and we have a diversity which has got the power of withstanding calamities. Our strength is in our diversity, diverse terrain, diverse cultures, and diverse concentration of risks. There are some parts of India which have got large amount of risk concentration, some parts it is less. So even though as an insurer per se, I might not be much favoring cross-subsidization, but to start with, for disaster risk, we need to cross-subsidize between flood and earthquake, between earthquake and cyclone. We need to have that kind of a thinking, because the loaf has to be big enough, otherwise it will not be sustainable. Otherwise we'll have some kind of funds which get closed over some period of time, or the government ends up paying through its nose. So then, I didn't call that a success story then. So what we need is a pan-India approach for this. Initially, some years, some states would be paying more, some pays, more in terms of their risk proneness, some states less. So this is something which will get ironed out over a period of time. So this is the second point which I wanted to say. The third point, which will be, again, how do we go to passing on this risk entirely to an insurance scenario? For that, we should work on data, which is a point which practically everybody has been talking about, right through this workshop. It has to be reliable data, which has to be under somebody's authority. Reliable data has to be collected. We heard people saying that we get junk data. Yes, we used to, during my regulatory experience, we had this problem of getting 00s and 999s, what we were talking about. As of now, it is that unless there is somebody who is really driving the quality of the data, we will get junk data only. So we need to have a lot of focus on getting the correct data, which will make our actuaries work and give us the right predictions. If you give them junk, we will get only junk predictions. So we need to work on that. That is the huge second aspect. The third aspect, this will help us in a pricing, in formulating a pricing policy, which will start maybe with less data, but as data keeps on coming in, we'll have a more robust pricing policy. So then we can transfer risk more confidently. The government can transfer risk more confidently to the insurance sector. Then where does the kitty come in from? That is the third aspect. That is from where we come in. That is the insurers have to pay. There is no excuse on that. Insurers have to pay. But insurers don't have the money, as I was telling you in my earlier session, that insurance is possible only because it is reinsurable. NatCat insurance is possible only because of reinsurance. So the reinsurers are available. They are connected at a multi-layer across countries, and they have the resilience. They have the money. We heard from Shefali that there are 7 Lloyd syndicates which are committed world across for giving the funds. So we have to bank on a proper reinsurance, well-regulated reinsurance system, which will be the backbone for giving the funding, for giving the funds from. And after all that, still the government is there. The government is there like a solid rock. If anything goes wrong, the government will be there. But that is the last port of call. That should be developed as the last port of call only. The next point which I want to say is there should be a point of convergence. A point of convergence is something like, I would visualize an NDMA as a point of convergence. An NDMA would be driving the entire system. The insurance is of course under the IRDA, but there is a point at which the NDMA and IRDA have to talk and say that this insurance policy works for me, works for my country. You have to direct the insurance companies to work in particular fashion so that the insurance is effective from a disaster management perspective. And again, we have to come into building rules. About rules about building, about creating, about construction buildings. The Australian regulator can say that insurance companies are going to charge something extra if the construction within 2 kilometers from the seashore is not specifically approved by your building authority. So they say this is a condition. So the Australian insurance regulator says it has to be approved as per so many standards. Otherwise, no insurer is going to insure that. And that puts in scare with people. Here, people will be happy not to insure. But there, without insurance, it is even insurance company refuses somebody insurance, the system has become so evolved. So there is a convergence there. That even look at the roads that we are getting lost, the entire government infrastructure, how much of infrastructure is getting lost after every disaster? Are our road constructions proper? Are our bridges proper? And who looks into all this? And it is all done by different state governments, different central government departments. Well, where is the quality control? They have to report to certain things, to a certain apex body. That's what I'm trying to visualize a greater role whereby NDMA would like to connect with each of these agencies and say, okay, it has to fit into this kind of quality standards. I'm not saying that they should go into micromanaging everything, but then they should be at least reasonably aware that there is a degree of risk management which happens all across the country. there is a financial resilience which is possible through insurance by ex-ante mechanisms, and things do work. If they don't work properly, there is somebody who is going to question the entire system. So we need to have a lot of convergence among all these organizations, and we are not reporting or exactly, or competing or anything like that, but the system should be that of a collaboration whereby everybody puts in their best and sees that the country is more disaster resilient. Thank you, sir, for this.
Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Deepak Singh from World Bank wants to make a brief intervention.
So one or two more points, and I think that might help in taking the agenda forward, and also want to build a little bit on what Mr. Thomas was saying. I think the role of NDMA here is quite critical and crucial. NDMA as a convening agency of all the state governments, and particularly the disaster management agency, can play a very active role. And if any kind of larger insurance or the risk transfer mechanism which will help the state governments, not necessarily directly working with the people at the retail end, has to be done, then I think NDMA can play a major role. And if the pooling of risk is one of the things that need to be taken forward, then I think it's NDMA once again that can convene different states and also convince Odisha to combine with say Uttarakhand in order to pool the risk from earthquake versus the cyclone on the east coast versus the west coast. So that kind of convening NDMA can do. The second thing I want to also say that there are also large government programs, and Government of India is a signatory to Sendai framework, which very clearly says that we should work towards not creating new risk, and we should try and reduce the existing risk. And Government of India has large programs, and one particular mention is the housing scheme that the central government funds in collaboration with several state governments. And we don't see that there is a definite effort in terms of not creating new risk, whether there are gaps in terms of financing, whether there are gaps in terms of technical and managerial or the aspects of those schemes. We need to find out, and certain kind of mechanism can also be tagged along, and we have large experience of working on several reconstruction projects, particularly in housing, be it Bihar or be it Odisha or Tamil Nadu. And what we have tried to do every time is that whenever government is funding post-disaster reconstruction of houses, there is a necessary insurance component that is attached to that. And my experience is that I was also very pleasantly surprised when we came to know what are the rates for houses for which we are financing about 3 lakh, 4 lakh rupees, which may cost actually in that range. The insurance premium for a 10-year insurance is less than 1,000 rupees. So now if those are the kind of rates that are existing in the present market, and if you increase and scale up this, probably these rates can further come down. It is kind of extremely affordable, and therefore if the central government provides 1.25 lakh rupees for housing, if 1,000 rupees goes towards insurance for the 10-year insurance of the same house, I think that's a huge gain that we can have on the housing stock particularly. Similarly, housing is again a very easy infrastructure to tackle if we actually want to tackle through the insurance, because if we look at the formal housing, in particularly in the urban areas, there are mechanisms of approvals at various stages. Whenever a house is coming for a construction approval, they are providing a lot of money in terms of fee, license fee, and building permission fee, and to the municipality or the local body. Again, we can attach a insurance premium in that and make it mandatory that every house that gets constructed in a vulnerable area or in an area where we are wanting to propagate these kind of schemes, whether it is in Kerala or whether it is in Ahmedabad, which is risk on the earthquake side or the flood side, you could have this formal mechanism of insurance getting tagged along with this. Also, the houses that have already been constructed every year come for property tax assessment and property tax payment. So we could also use that as a mechanism to leverage on the insurance and provide insurance or get insurance premiums and then provide insurance. So there could be a lot of innovative, not necessarily innovative, actually a slight modification to the existing schemes and existing mechanism to actually increase the coverage in certain sectors very rapidly. So these are some of the thoughts. Maybe it will help.
Thank you very much, all the panelists. I would like to state a few things for consideration of all. First of all, it has been mentioned that NDMA should play a major role. What I would like to say very clearly that first, if the insurance companies can have their own deliberations and identify in what manner they would like to design a package. If you are able to design a proper disaster damage related insurance product, then for designing that, wherever you have gaps, because I am sure you will be doing your own actuarial analysis. For doing that, you don't need support of NDMA. I am sure you will have your own assessment of studying the preparedness of the state governments concerned in a hazard specific manner and what kind of previous losses have occurred. That kind of data already you will be definitely having. So therefore, what are the gaps where you require those gaps to be filled in? If you identify that and then come to us for a discussion, we will be happy to facilitate and identify and see if those gaps, whether in terms of getting hazard vulnerability data from the different scientific institutions or any specific data from the state governments, NDMA can help in preparing that data. But NDMA certainly cannot design your product because that is your job. The insurance companies have to design your own products and that job cannot be done by anybody else. And then second point I would like to mention is that it would have been desirable if some representation from the Department of Financial Services were here today. But I would expect that because the fund support matters have been repeatedly mentioned, that for some years at least a partial subsidy should be supported by the concerned governments. And here I would like to mention categorically that it would not be possible for Government of India at this stage to commit any particular partial support to subsidy as far as the insurance is concerned. But we would like to leave that decision making to the concerned state governments, because as per the National Disaster Management Policy, the primary responder in disaster management is the state government. Therefore, a state government will definitely have an opportunity to take a decision on a case-to-case basis analysis, whether to start the risk transfer mechanism in one or more districts and one or more hazards, and in what manner they would do. And for doing that, if the insurance company is ready with a draft package and with clear-cut pricing, then it would be possible for NDMA to support a mechanism where the state government will be able to take a decision. So the decision making for partial financial support as far as the premium is concerned, this decision will not be taken by NDMA or by Government of India, and most likely this will be a choice which will be left to the state governments. But wherever there are any gaps in terms of communication with the state governments or with the scientific organizations of the Government of India, or in terms of accessing data, if insurance company comes forward with a specific package and a proposal, we will be very happy to fill in the gaps. So I thank NIDM for taking the lead and III for taking the lead, and I would suggest one last suggestion from my side is that if we can think of a working group, a very small working group, maybe III can take a lead. If a small working group consisting of 3 members or maximum 4 members can be identified, to see that within a month something concrete can be worked out, then I will be happy to take this up further for discussion, and I will also expect support from IRDA in this and the Department of Financial Services also. We will be very happy to do that, provided a brief, proper working group with a clear focus and a time limit of 1 month, if that can be created, because we can't deliberate these issues for years together. So there is no need for debating further, but a clear specified timeline, 1 month timeline, a working group, if that can be created, then I am sure that it will give results, because as you know, if you keep on collecting data, there is no end to your perfection, because whatever data you have collected till now is always imperfect data, and you know, in your urge for perfection, you will be delaying any decision making. Therefore, we may not have a perfect database right now. Gradually there will be opportunities to improve the data, but with whatever data one has at the moment, it should be possible to have the working group look into it and help the insurance companies to come forward with a viable product. So with these words, I once again thank NIDM and III for taking the lead. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving the concrete direction for this action plan, whatever we have deliberated in this panel. Now I will like to invite Bindal sir to give token of appreciation to all the panelists. First to Mrs. Madhuli, Mr. Deepak. Mrs. Madhulika Bhaskar. Mrs. S.N. Rajeshwari. Mr. Ankur Gupta. Mrs. Usha Girish and Mr. George E. Thomas. I will request all the panelists and also Bindal sir to join the panelists for a group photograph.